So we've heard a lot about the Diabetic Foot Clinic. I'm going to go one step back to where it all began in Samoa. So as you know, Samoa is a small Pacific island country. Population of only 193,000 people, so it's very contrasting to what we heard about in Pakistan. But still many issues with accessibility to mobility device services and mobility devices. 54% of Samoans are obese. The global average is only 13%. And we heard from Katrina that 22.4% have raised blood glucose levels. So the morbidity and mortality relating to non-communicable diseases is very common. Prior to 2014, access to any mobility devices was ad hoc or required travelling overseas, which was not accessible for all, nor a sustainable option for the government to fund. So, collaborating together, Motivation Australia, the Samoa National Health Service and NOLA, the Disabled People's Organisation of Samoa, with funding from the Australian Government, began the development of the Samoan Integrated Mobility Device Service. Integrating the provision of wheelchairs, walking aids, prosthetics and orthotics means that services are more cost-effective to establish compared to having separate services. There are lower ongoing running costs for the health providers and simpler referral systems. It's also well suited to smaller, more dispersed populations such as those in the Pacific Island nations. Further, in Samoa, as many parts of the world, with the majority of clients of the MDS having non-communicable diseases and related impairments, so often more than one type of mobility device is required. So it's more like a one-stop shop than having to go to different services for what you need. In order to build the Samoan MDS into a sustainable, appropriate mobility device service, there were 4 core components that needed to be strengthened: the human resources, technical resources, service systems, and the organisational culture that supports the team and the service users. Using these key components, we developed what we call the capacity assessment matrix for planning and ongoing monitoring of projects. The Samoan MDS was designed from the beginning as an integrated service. Implementing the service, however, was carried out progressively to allow for the varied range of training, devices, tools, and materials that were required for each different type of mobility device. This allowed for each element of the capacity assessment matrix relative to the assistive technology being implemented to be adequately developed and supported. There are a variety of ways that we have tried to collect data throughout these projects to enable us to monitor, evaluate and learn the development of the service. Using the capacity assessment matrix that I just talked about, we look at that at different points throughout the development to see how we're progressing and whether we're improving or not. Service databases, so ongoing service data of all the clients being seen through the service. Direct impact data, the information about consultations, workshops, technical advice that we provide. Trip reports, project stories, training register evaluation and appraisals. We're keeping information about all of those things. And we also collect as much qualitative feedback from both partners and beneficiaries as we can. As part of this project, we've had some great training outcomes so that the service is now fully staffed by Samoans. 17 people have undergone basic level wheelchair and walking aid training, with one currently undertaking the training in wheelchair service provision. 10 people have completed the intermediate level wheelchair service training. So that's the World Health Organisation training package that we're talking about. One person has completed the Category 2 level prosthetics and orthotics training in Cambodia, and there's currently one in training. One lower limb prosthetist completed training at Mobility India, and one lower limb orthotist also at Mobility India. To date, we have over 1,000 registered clients, 48% women and girls, and as you can see from the graph, most of our clients are over the age of 55. %76% of our clients have been from rural areas, which is great, though 80% of the population live in rural areas, so we still have a little way to go to make sure we access everyone. And 63% of the clients have diabetes or have been diagnosed with diabetes. So you can see from the graph that that's a lot of the clients we're seeing as a result of the diabetes and the impact of that. Frail old age and stroke and arthritis, other sort of non-communicable type diseases or impairments that we're also seeing a lot of. To date, we've provided over 1,400 mobility devices. Over 3,000 have been procured, ready to be provided. And we've had 344 follow-up appointments, with the majority of these, 85% of these, being in the user's home, which I think is also, we're quite proud of that, because we're able to go out and see them in the home and how they're doing at home and make changes to the mobility device as required so it suits them, suits their needs. As part of development of the services, we want service to get some more data. We looked at implementing some of the WHO Disability Assessment Schedule questions into our registration forms for all the clients and all of the follow-up forms when we follow up with clients. So just some initial data that we're getting from that. We're currently analysing that at the moment, but this is some things that we're finding. The overall change reported from the registration to follow-up for 38% was positive change, 19% had negative change, and 8% had no change. Of those experiencing negative change, 63% were female. If we look at our client service database, we're almost on a 50-50 percentage for male, female coming to see us. However, there's been more female experiencing negative change after receiving mobility device. And 17% frail old age, which is also a higher percentage compared to what we've been seeing through the service. In conclusion, we feel that integrated mobility device services are models that can be built upon for other Pacific Island countries, and we're starting work in some others such as Tonga. Including other assistive technology to create broader integrated assistive technology services would be really beneficial for this part of the world. And gathering reliable impact data as part of service provision is a challenge, however, it can be extremely valuable for feedback. The ongoing procurement of cost-effective, appropriate devices also remains a major challenge for us, and as the government of Samoa takes on the procurement, we need to work towards that. I'd just like to acknowledge our partners, the National Health Service of Samoa, Nuana o Lealofa, the Disabled Persons Organisation of Samoa, the Australian Government for funding this project, Mobility Device Service team members, and of course the Motivation Australia team members who've all played a great role.